Carrots are so fun to grow. In our house, we eat carrots almost more than any other vegetable all year round. So that's why I try to grow as many as possible in spring, summer, fall, and even winter. So if you love carrots as much as I do, here are some tips for growing them more successfully. Carrots don't mind the cold weather of spring, so you want to plant them early. You can plant them 4 weeks before your average last frost. And if you have a cold frame or a low tunnel, you can plant them 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost. That's when I planted the ones behind me. They used to be in my cold frame, and I planted them right around March 10th or so. My biggest tip with carrots is to keep them consistently moist until they germinate, which can often take up to 3 weeks. One of the tricks I learned from working at a farm is to try to plant your carrots before a rainstorm or right after a rainstorm when the soil is nice and moist. I usually cover my newly planted carrot seeds with row cover to trap in moisture. If you're not getting any rain, you want to make sure you water your carrots at least every day, and if it's hot and dry, possibly 2 times a day until they germinate. I find that it's much easier to get carrots to germinate in the cool and more moist spring than it is in the summer. Carrots like soil that's on the looser side, so you can use a fork to try to loosen up that soil a little bit to help them grow better. I like to use my broad fork, which aerates the soil on a deeper level. Make sure you pay attention to spacing. So I checked my carrot packets and they say plant 45 seeds per foot, but after they germinate and start growing, you need to thin them to about 1 to 2 inches between each carrot plant. So sometimes I plant less than 45 per foot because it's going to require a lot of thinning. So if you plant a lot of carrots close together in a row, once they come up and start growing, if you don't thin them out, they're not going to grow very big. So you have to go back and check your carrot rows and make sure that you have about 1 to 2 inches between each plant. And that's called thinning. And all you need to do is just go and pluck out the plants that are too crowded and you can eat them or you can just throw them in the aisles. I actually like to use pelleted carrot seeds, which look like little round white balls, and it's basically a clay coating on top of and around the carrot seed to make it easier to handle. I find these are easier to plant and easier to get a more exact spacing. Once your carrots germinate, make sure you give them about 1 inch of water per week and mulch between the rows to trap in moisture and keep the weeds down. Carrots are great for succession planting, so don't just plant them once in early spring and then forget about them. I like to plant carrots every 2 to 3 weeks, all the way up until about 8 to 10 weeks before my average first frost. So for me, I usually start in March and go all the way till the end of July, planting carrots whenever I have room and whenever I think about it, about every 2 to 3 weeks. Carrots take anywhere between 55 to 80 days or more to grow to a mature size carrot. But really, you can harvest carrots at whatever size you want. If you like the tiny little baby carrots that you might get in a gourmet restaurant, feel free to harvest your carrots when they're tiny. I usually go out to my bed and dig around the top of each plant to see if I can see the top of the carrot so I can figure out how big it is. If I can't really tell, sometimes I'll just dig one up to try to see, is it ready to be harvested? If it is, then I'll just start harvesting the carrots. You don't necessarily have to harvest the whole bed at once. I usually just harvest the carrots as I want to eat them and leave the rest in the bed where they'll continue to grow a little bit. And if you are growing carrots, don't just grow the boring ones that you can get from any grocery store. There are white carrots, yellow carrots, purple carrots, red carrots, all kinds of different wonderful varieties that you can grow. I'll put a few links to some of my favorites in the notes with this video. There's nothing quite like harvesting a fresh carrot from your garden, taking it to the hose, washing it off, and then just eating it right then and there. If you have any questions or you have some tips that you want to share about how you grow carrots successfully, please leave them in the comments with this video, and happy carrot growing!